mentioned earlier the recent leaks that happened with the U.S. Department of Defense or Pentagon leaks, and I wanted to ask you actually a couple questions on that because I was reading some stuff about it and some of like the major points that I saw in the leaks, and one of them was, I believe, and correct me if I'm wrong, that the Ukrainian air defense systems were being drastically depleted to a point where they were almost going to like run out. And when I was reading this in the, I know it's American media source, Washington Post, they were saying that, well, this could potentially give way to Russians then having air superiority over Ukraine without having to worry about, Ukrainian missiles shooting down their planes. I guess one question is how drastic or like how severe of a blow would that be to Ukraine if Russians did have like free reign over their airspace like that?
They already largely have free reign over Ukraine for a long time.
Oh,
So
really?
that is the problem with you can have air defense, but the thing is that every time you use your air defense, you get marked where your air defense is. Especially, when the Russians launch all these different drones and missile strikes on Ukraine, every time the SAM system light up, there is a saying that there was always a second wave of missiles targeting all these SAM sites. So this is already one problem that the Ukrainians have been facing, and whenever they detect the because it's like the pro-Ukrainian side is very very cute. They always talk about, wow, they have these HARMS missiles, this missile that tracks radar and they actually attacks radar. The Russians have definitely have similar stuff. So whenever you on your radar, you get detected. And the Russians also using the surveillance drones and actively looking for air defense systems. So the Ukrainians are constantly losing air defense all the time because it's a war. So it's just the Russians probably will lose as well. So it's just a war. No, people die, things get destroyed all the time. It's just a matter of rates. Who are you making good trades? But the Russians nowadays, so they already have air superiority, they have missile superiority, artillery superiority. The Ukrainians used to have UAV superiority. That's gone. The Russians now have more UAVs now, probably more than the Ukrainians, because that was also reported by pro-Ukrainian sources. Then now the Russians have they have improvised the dumb bomb. So the bombs that are just the aircraft used to just drop, they now augmented to be able to glide, to fly further. So and then they can be super accurate. I read was within 10 meters accuracy. But these bombs are huge. These are 500 to 1,500 kilogram bombs. So so just to put into context how powerful such a bomb is, a HIMARS biggest payload was, I think, only 90 kilograms. HIMARS missile, the biggest unitary, they call it unitary warhead. That means it doesn't because most HIMARS actually they explode into multiple small bombs. So if it's just one rocket, the biggest warhead was 90 kilograms. A bomb from an aircraft can go from 500 to 1,500 kilograms. So the
Wow.
explosion is so much more powerful. And these bombs now can fly on their own. They can glide to their targets. And I read was like they are dropping these bombs 80, 90 kilometers. The closest is 30, 40 kilometers from the front line. So
Wow.
that means the surface to air defense of the Ukrainians, which you cannot put it on the front line. You have to put it behind the front line. They cannot even target the Russian aircraft. The Russian aircraft will probably just enter the range of the radar. The missiles can't even launch. They drop their bombs and they turn around and go. So the Russians already have air superiority, and they are now bombing the Ukrainians at will, regardless of what the Ukrainians do. And the Ukrainians, which is why they are asking so much about the F-16s. They need the fighter jets to to able to intercept this Russian aircraft. But the fact is, depending on the version of the F-16 they are given, they might not even have the MRAM, the mid-range missiles that can engage in further range. So if they give them the lowest end F-16, they probably might not have the ability because they only have sidewinders. And that is disregarding the fact that the Russians have one of the world's best air defense systems. They have the S-400s, S-300s. There is a rumored S-450s. We do not know what the hell they have that they can easily shut down everything. So, because it's arguable, if the Americans have better air defense system, I have no idea. But the Russians is always famous for air defense. So there's nothing much the Ukrainians can do at this moment. So if the Russians have no needs to fly into Ukraine as well. They are always going to just fly near the front line, drop their bombs and go. Because why is there any needs to fly into Ukraine to risk your aircraft? Because there will definitely be air defense systems deeper into Ukraine, for sure.
Makes sense.
So there's no reason for them to fly in. They can just use missile strikes. They can use drones. So that's why there is a different kind of the military strategy. Like the Americans love to fly their planes into enemy territory, and they use the stealth aircraft, take out all the SAM sites, the radar, power stations, but usually they are not fighting a peer level enemy.
Mm-hmm.
So not like Ukraine versus Russia. This pretty much they're very close in terms of the level of military. So yes, that the Ukrainians are like a smaller version of Russia, slightly lower tech. That's all, and then they are now augmented with Western equipments. So they are pretty much close. So whether the Americans can do the same thing to the Russians is a question mark. Nobody knows whether they can do it. Mm-hmm. So the Russians, they do not have this kind of doctrine. They are always going to be like using their air force only closer to the front line. Like I'm not even sure if they use that much aircraft even in the first week of war, flying. I think they only have some flying over Kiev. I think because I think they are providing air cover for their airborne troops. But otherwise, I don't really know. I don't really see the Russians like sending like the World War II, they send the bombers in deep into enemy airspace kind of thing. Mm-hmm. No, even the heavy bombers, they are launching cruise missiles. They are not dropping dumb bombs. So so there's still more to come, I guess.